Thank you for that. It's a great point that you make in terms of the value of music and how people perceive the value of music. Today, it's very much, for free. People are transferring music via Bluetooth, via SD cards, downloads, and do it kind of freely without any consequences, as we've been talking about. For some numbers for the audience, I mean, how big is this problem? I mean, the music industry in India is estimated to be about $150 to $200 million of realized revenue that comes to the industry. But in terms of piracy, it's been estimated through studies as recent as last year to be almost a $4 billion industry, you know what I mean, except only 200 million actually makes it to the record labels. So it just gives you a sense of how large the actual problem is. Mr. Agarwal, question for you here is, how is I mean, recently the national IPR policy was passed, and a lot of that seemed it was directed towards manufacturing industries. I mean, in markets like the U.S., for example, 74% of all exports are based on, IP-related goods. In Europe, that number is as high as 90%. And seeing that, India has now kind of taken active steps towards, passing that national IPR policy has been pretty encouraging. But I guess the part that's kind of fallen short is the issue of copyrights. And we appreciate your active kind of pursuance of trying to measure that. But we'd like to understand what sparked the kind of view now in terms of having to address this, and would love to get your view on that.
Okay, thank you. No, copyright is definitely not on the back burner. In fact, it's been one of the major issues that's been facing the government, and the kind of administrative shake-up that has happened in shifting copyrights from one department to another. It's not easy. The government to actually change this is not easy at all, and it just goes to show the kind of seriousness that the government attaches to copyright. Two, bringing it under commerce is one of the most important attitudinal changes that could have come in. So copyrights is no longer being viewed as an adjunct to, say, education or to something else, but it's commerce, it's pure from the point of view of the economy. So we're looking at it more from that point of view rather than trying to clamp down upon it. So that is the biggest change that has come in so far as the government is concerned. Now it's still early days so far as IPR policy is concerned. It's just been a couple of months that it's been adopted, and we're still moving ahead, and we are trying to move ahead on a number of things at the same time. Here I would agree with Mr. Subramaniam. It's not really the making of laws that's maybe in terms of illegal video recordings or camcording. Yes, there are certain punitive measures that are required, and that's something that's under consideration. But apart from that, in terms of laws, there's not much that is needed. But yes, implementation. That's an area where we really need to take up things and take them up in right earnest. Yes, we do have sporadic cases. We have Tamil Nadu where they've really clamped down on copyrights. They've even busted a Malaysian ring in this regard. Telangana has come up with some very positive steps in this regard. But these steps, by and large, are still isolated, or they're still not pervasive across the country. Now, music, and as Akshay pointed out, is actually pervasive. In fact, it's the only thing we take with ourselves to our bathrooms soon. I mean, most of us are bathroom singers, whether others listen or not. But yes, this is one industry, copyright as a whole, the media and entertainment industry, and specifically the music industry, that we really need to target. And that's why this awareness has been there. We had a workshop with the US in April this year. And in fact, one step which our judiciary has taken, John Doe orders, is something which the American industry is not clamoring for. They want their courts to come up with something similar. It's one of the ways to tackle infringing ISPs. And we will have to target ISPs if we really want to clamp down on online piracy. Just one other issue is on the figures. Now, I don't know whether we we are actually a 4 billion industry, which because of piracy has come down to 200 million. I don't know whether these figures are correct or not. I don't even know whether we can actually achieve 4 billion given the fact that what is the purchasing capacity of our population, and whether we can actually match up to the figures of, say, the US or Europe or any other country. But yes, we have to make sure that while we do reach out to the entire country with our music, with our creativity, at the same time, we make sure that it becomes a commercial venture. We are not looking at commercializing music, like what Arnav was talking about earlier also. We are not looking at commercializing news. We are looking at commercializing newspapers. We are looking at commercializing music channels. It has to be a viable business model. And this is where the government would always stand with the industry in this regard.
Thank you for that. Mr. Rose, I believe you wanted to say some comments.
Yeah, look, and I think the conversation we're having on piracy is critical and important, and the Indian music market needs to represent, from a size perspective, the richness and quality of the creativity that exists in this country, not the richness and quality of Scandinavia, which is a lot smaller, and I think the last really significant thing that came out of that was ABBA, if you want to talk about relative creative. But I think the other issue that needs to be part of this, and I agree with everything that everyone said about the need for laws, but the need for execution and the need for enforcement, is that the digital world has changed the nature of the industry. And that the other thing that's incumbent is that we develop business models for the industry that reflect the world we're moving into, not the world we came from. And the thing that has to change is we have defined an industry maybe 60 years ago in which record companies make money off these things called records. Publishing companies, not necessarily as much in India, make money off the use of the tune in multiple settings. So if I want to record the tune and put my own lyrics in, I got to pay the guy who created it in the first place. Radio stations make money off being on radio. The reality is that the record company today creates the brand that is the artist. They find them, they put capital into recording them, they put capital into promoting them, and the value of the record has likely declined and will not return. Nothing we will do on piracy will change the fact that the value of the master recording right, the value of the record, is worth half or less than it was 15 years ago, largely because while people are engaging more and more in music all the time, they're not doing that with the primary mechanism buying something called a CD or a tape or a 15-song assemblage that someone's created. However, because the record company does actually invest to create the artist, they do in fact provide the fundamental training, support materials, promotion, capital to do that. There are alternative business models that can be and should be pursued, and the industry itself has to, while pointing outward at piracy appropriately, has to also look inward in a much more fundamental sense in terms of the underlying way it thinks about creating value. And in a country like India, with the massive explosion of smartphones, it's an extraordinary opportunity to create real value for the industry. It takes nothing away from our piracy conversation, but our piracy conversation is not sufficient.
Thank you for that, Ms. Rose. Sridhar, you had...
Yeah, I'd just like to add to what you're saying, John. I think you're absolutely right. I think going back to a 20-year-old world where you had high realizations from consumers, that's gone. I think that everybody realizes that. I think in India, though, we need to keep two things in mind. Even at its peak, we've had a total of like 80 million record players or cassette players, 25 million CD players. Right now, we're in an era where you have like 500 million smartphones. I think so. What happens is the addressable market more than increases tenfold, but the average realization per consumer will drop, and I think everybody's aware of that in the sense that the pricing or the ARPU that you're going to get from every consumer is going to be a fraction, but the market in India at least doubles, which is not the case, say, in Sweden. I don't think they have that luxury because they were always a 100% penetrated market. We are just going to go from a 5% penetration to probably a 50% penetration.
Yeah, and I think that's a tremendous advantage for India, but the other question is how does one move from the traditional world of it's a 7-record deal to, I think, the inappropriate notion of it's a 360-degree rights deal, to the true notion of doesn't matter how many records there are, we are actually creating the opportunity for you to be in business, and we'll take relevant shares of all of the different revenue streams until we recover a fair return on invested capital, which is a completely different way of thinking about the industry.
Absolutely, and I guess one of the biggest things about India is really the scale. I mean, talking about 500 million smartphones, those are 500 million phones that can have the Saavn app, actually, you know, to be able to stream. I had to give my plug there. But yeah, you know, in terms of business models and in terms of resolving, you know, or at least addressing piracy, I think the point that Mr. Agarwal made earlier was that, you know, this is becoming an increasingly technological problem, which requires a technological solution. And other markets have done it, like we talked about, you know, the Western markets or even China recently, and we can do it too. So with that, I'd love to kind of open this up to some questions from the audience. You, sir, please, with the white coat, yeah.
Addressing to everyone.
Okay.
Right. My name is Ken Lal, and I'm a founder of People Press Limited and an independent filmmaker, right? My question is, if the infringement happens outside India, right, and someone has copied your format or music, then what should I do? Where to start the things then?
All IP laws are domestic.
So we have the law, sir.
No, let's just come to that. If the infringement has taken place outside India and he's infringing copyright outside India, then you'll have to enforce it in that country. But if he brings that material into India,
sir,
then yes, that is what we are concerned with.
Right. I'll tell you, according to the Indian Act, IPR Act, I can register the case anywhere, right? But there is a problem when we registered the case in police station or in the copyright office. Now thing is that how to get the things done. Everyone has a bigger question than me, right? Police, I'll go to the police station, they said, yeah, तुम्हारी कमीज में बटन लगा हुआ है, उसकी कमीज में बटन लगा हुआ है, what is the difference? Now, इसका तो कोई आंसर नहीं है.
Right. Okay, let me try and phrase it. Okay.
Yes.
पहली चीज, यदि कोई बाहर कॉपीराइट का इन्फ्रिंजमेंट करता है या if anyone infringes copyrights outside this country, copies or does something and then brings that material into India, that is where the copyright law of India gets violated. Then you have the right to file a case in India. That's one. Two, we are taking steps, and this is something we would like to work closely with the industry to see how can we make something akin to John Doe orders more effective. That would be with regards to digital piracy, because all that material would ultimately come to India through some ISP. And if we can stop it at that stage, we make sure that it doesn't come into the borders of India. One. Two, if there's physical material that comes through the customs borders, they already have border measures to seize that infringing material. So yes, if there's any further action that is required out there, that can be done. Three, this is a point which is well accepted that the police force has a lot of, how should I put it, they have their priorities. So unless we sensitize them, unless we tell them that, look, this is important, and what is the fallout? You might have the money that goes from a pirated CD. That money might actually be feeding some terror group somewhere. So it all comes back. So it's not just one CD. It actually has links elsewhere also. So we really need to look at it from that point of view. And we need to educate and sensitize our police personnel. And this is something we are working with the industry right now. And in the next couple of months, we hope to get an enforcement toolkit out to all the police forces. We are already trying to engage with the police training academies so that we can train the police personnel, at least till the Thana level. They know that if someone comes to them for a copyright infringement, this is what they have to do. There are two acts in which the police is involved. One is copyrights, the second is trademarks. And unless they know that this is what they have to do, face it, at the Thana level, what at the Thana level, even at the district level, people are just not aware of these IP laws. And they really need to be sensitized on this. 3, so far as the judiciary is concerned, that's another important arm which has to be sensitized. I'm not talking of the High Court of, say, Delhi or Mumbai, where the judges are aware of such cases. But we are talking of the first leg, which is the district court. And we have already reached out to the judicial academies to include these modules in their courses and to see that they get sensitized. So, yes, it is work in progress. I cannot say that sitting here today, everything is going to be set right. But the beginning has been made. And we certainly hope to see the police, the judiciary, and all other arms of the executive coming together and taking action as required.
Thank you.
Thanks very much. I'm actually being asked to kind of wrap up. I mean, maybe we have time for 1 or 2 more questions, and then we can kind of cut off. Yeah, sure.
Excuse me.
Oh, sorry. Oh, he has the mic. Yeah. Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Gaurav. I'm a voice artist and musician and product manager. My question is to actually many of you. You raised the point of the value of music and how that's maybe falling in today's market. And I wanted to raise a point, playing devil's advocate, which is that hasn't the music creation and production process also been equally affected by the influx of technology? The way distribution and accessibility to pirated music has really changed how we consume music. Hasn't the creation process also become so much maybe quicker and simpler? And I'm a huge proponent of the value of music, but I'm just saying you can throw a few loops together with some pirated software and, you know, create a track that would have taken, you know, hours in Abbey Road years ago to create. And how do you think that affects the value of music in today's market?
If you decompose what the cost is of creating an artist as opposed to creating a song, there's no question that the cost of creating a song has dropped dramatically, although the talent that goes into mixing and cleaning and getting the right sound hasn't changed, but the toolkit's changed. The problem is that's only about 3% of the real cost of creating an artist, making people aware of a new piece of music, and getting that music out around the world. So the underlying marketing and promotion and other elements of the music business haven't declined much at all. And while it is true that there are a few artists who've been able to, from the cornfields of the Midwest in the United States or from a corner of the world, manage to create their music that's gone viral, so they've been able to circumvent that, that is the massive exception and not the rule. And quite frankly, social media has created more cost in this process, not less, because it used to be true that I'd create a piece of music, I'd get it on radio stations and everybody'd learn about it. Now I have so many different ways that I have to play to create awareness, and that actually the overall cost of ensuring that people are aware of and get trial to hasn't gone down the way the production tools are. So the real question becomes, how do I actually change the business model so I'm not actually focused on the record, I'm focused on the artist.
Thank you.
Thank you. I really have time for no more questions, to be honest with you, but we'll take one last question with your permission. Sure, go ahead.
I'm Harsh Narayan. My question is with Mr. Subramaniam and Mr. Paramdeep yourself. I have produced some albums on classical music, and whenever I put my compositions on YouTube, they mute it. They say that they already have this composition. I mean, Rag Yaman will remain Rag Yaman, Rag Hansdhwani will remain Rag Hansdhwani. I mean, a composition which is based on a classical music, even if it's different, the notations will remain same, but it is always get muted.
Okay, sorry, let me get that. It's a bit technical. I agree with you. I think absolutely. Those compositions are essentially public domain. There should be no strike or no claim on what you're doing to that. Obviously, somebody has registered that at the back end of Google or YouTube, which is why you're having this particular problem. But in the truest sense of the word, what you're doing with classical Indian folk music is obviously in public domain, and there should be no such issues for you at all, to release it at all.
Sure, go ahead.
When we talk of piracy, what is acting, Anuji? Is it not piracy? You are performing the character of someone else. And the one who performs best is called the best actor and is garlanded. And is rewarded.
नहीं सर, वो पायरेसी नहीं है. आप बिल्कुल गलत बोल रहे हैं.
What is that?
एक्टर को कभी किसी कैरेक्टर को देख के इंस्पिरेशन मिलता है, लेकिन आप लोग जिस तरह की हिंदी फिल्में बनाते हैं वो एक स्टीरियोटाइप्ड है फिल्में हैं. जरूरी नहीं कि हर एक्टर जो है किसी शुड गेट इंस्पिरेशन फ्रॉम ए रियल लाइफ कैरेक्टर. नो, इट्स नॉट लाइक दिस. एन एक्टर्स अप्रोच टू अ रोल कैन बी इमेजिनेटिव ऑल्सो. सो इट डजंट हैव टू बी ऑल द टाइम इंस्पायर्ड बाय अ रियल लाइफ इंसिडेंट. रियल लाइफ इंसिडेंट क्या है? आपकी फिल्म में तो आती क्या खंडाला है. ताज्जुब ये है, आप सब लोग डिस्कस कर रहे हैं पायरेसी रोकने के ऊपर, तो बिल्कुल ये वाली बात है कि ए ने बी से चुराया है, ए ने बी से चुराया है, और ए कह रहा है कि जो चोरी का माल है उसकी पायरेसी मेरे को रोको. ये बहुत स्ट्रेंज बात है, ये बहुत ही स्ट्रेंज बात है इस चीज का. हाँ, ओरिजिनल आपका वो आपने यमन राग की बात की है, तो उन्होंने जो भी उनका जवाब था उन्होंने देने की कोशिश की है, लेकिन राग रागनियों की बात कर रहे हैं. एक ही राग को नोटेशन सेम है, नोटेशन सेम है, बट बिलीव मी, जब एक ही राग को बड़े गुलाम अली खां गाते हैं और सेम राग को आमिर अली साहब गाते हैं या सेम राग को राहत फतेह अली खान गाते हैं, उसका सब कुछ चेंज हो जाता है. इसलिए आपको चेंज, यमन राग वही है, नीरे गा रे सा, वही है ना, सा पा मा गा रे नीरे नीमा रे नीरे सा, ये होता है. वो जवाब नहीं दे पाएंगे आपको, जवाब मैं दूंगा आपको. पायरेसी, हाँ, वो क्या दे, वो यहां पे जो चल रहा है आप रोक ही नहीं सकते जब तक गवर्नमेंट सीरियस नहीं होगी. और गवर्नमेंट के पास, हर गवर्नमेंट के पास इतनी ज्यादा प्रायोरिटी है कि अपना नंबर बहुत बाद में लगेगा. भाई अगले साल भी मिलेंगे, स्थिति ऐसे ही बनी रहेगी. एनीवे, मैं डिस्करेज, बहुत अच्छी बातें हमने डिबेट किया, बहुत अच्छे लोगों ने अपने विचार यहां पे रखे. होने वाला कुछ नहीं है क्योंकि प्रायोरिटी नहीं है. भाई हम जो तड़प रहे हैं, आपने कहा नहीं दादा, वो बिल्कुल गलत है. ऐसी बात नहीं है कि हर बार कोई एक्टर किसी से मारता है. इतना टाइम ही कहाँ है. आपकी स्टीरियोटाइप तो होती हैं. हमने तो अभी नया राउंड शुरू किया. अबे जे क्या हो गया, 1932 ये नियमैनिक कंपोजिशन मैं बताऊंगा कि जिस पायरेसी को आप रोकने की बात कर रहे हैं, उसी चोर ने 1936 के सिविल वॉर की अमेरिकन कंपोजिशन आई. तो आप चोरों को रोकने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं. कौन है ओरिजिनल? ओरिजिनल जो हिंदुस्तान का था वो बहुत कम बचा है. ध्यान रखना. आपका यमन, आप ऐसा गाओ कि आपका कॉपीराइट वाला कह के नहीं. अभी कॉपीराइट को दर्ज करने के लिए कौन बैठे हैं कि साहब मैंने इंग्लिश में एमए किया हिंदी मीडियम से, ये वो लोग हैं. आप समझे मेरी बात? सो इस तरह के प्रोफेशनल लोग इन्वॉल्व होना चाहिए जो म्यूजिक के बारे में जाने, म्यूजिक की इंट्रिकेसी के बारे में जाने, तब बात आगे बढ़ेगी. और गवर्नमेंट का आप रिप्रेजेंटेशन ले जाइए गवर्नमेंट के पास, ये बताइए हमारी ये समस्या है, तब होगा सर. गवर्नमेंट के पास अभी निर्भया कांड पड़े हुए हैं यार, अभी जीएसटी पड़ा हुआ है. आप तो कमाते हो, वो म्यूजिक डायरेक्टर बहुत कमाते हैं भाई. म्यूजिक का पैसा, मैं फिल्म इंडस्ट्री से जुड़ा हूं, म्यूजिक का पैसा, डांसर्स जो होते हैं उनका एसोसिएशन, जूनियर आर्टिस्ट का एसोसिएशन, और म्यूजिक का पैसा खरा है, कोई मारता नहीं है. नो पायरेसी. फाइट मास्टर का जो पैसा है वो हर प्रोड्यूसर मारता है, हर प्रोड्यूसर. नेम एनी प्रोड्यूसर. तो आप जब तक उस इंडस्ट्री में घुसेंगे नहीं ना, बाहर से किनारे में बैठे हुए मछली मार रहा हूं, मछली जाना है बाबा, अंदर घुसना, उसके बाद तेरे को पता पड़ेगा. ऐसे थोड़ा हो जाता है. सो आप तो म्यूजिक ऐसा एक्स्ट्रा ऑर्डिनरी, हर घड़ी चश्मे खरीदार में रहने के लिए, आप ट्रांसलेट कर लेना इंग्लिश में. हम हिंदी इंडस्ट्री की, हिंदी म्यूजिक की बात कर रहे हैं, इंग्लिश में डिस्कस कर रहे हैं. ठीक है जी? तो सुनिए, हर घड़ी चश्मे खरीदार में रहने के लिए, चश्मे खरीदार बायर्स की आंखों में रहने के लिए, इन ऑर्डर टू सर्वाइव इन द मार्केट, हर घड़ी चश्मे खरीदार में रहने के लिए कुछ हुनर चाहिए. बाजार में रहने के लिए हर घड़ी चश्मे खरीदार में रहने के लिए कुछ हुनर चाहिए. बाजार में रहने के लिए अब तो शोहरत का बदनामी से वो रिश्ता है, अब तो शोहरत का बदनामी से वो रिश्ता है कि लोग नंगे हो जाते हैं अखबार में रहने के लिए. अब नंगे हुओं को पायरेसी से कैसे रोकोगे?
Thank you. With that, we're going to end the panel. Thank you very much.